In the village of Kalin, where the harvest had failed 3 years running and the river had shrunk to a brown ribbon of mud, there lived a boy named Tomas who owned nothing in the world but a wooden bowl, a threadbare blanket, and a hunger that never truly left his belly. His mother and father had died the winter before last, taken by a fever that swept through the lowlands like a curse, and Tomas had been left in the care of his uncle Bertrand, a man whose smile was warm but whose eyes, if you looked closely, never quite matched it. Bertrand had once been poor himself, and poverty had carved something hollow into him, something that hungered for more than food. He fed Tomas just enough to keep him working, and worked him just enough to keep him from asking questions about the small locked chest beneath the floorboards, the one that grew heavier every month though the village grew thinner around it. One evening, as autumn bled into a bitter, early winter, Bertrand sent Tomas into the deep forest to gather kindling, tossing him a single heel of stale bread and a strip of dried meat, no larger than a finger, as his supper. "Don't dawdle," Bertrand said, "and don't come back until the sack is full." Tomas walked for hours, the cold biting through his blanket cloak, his stomach twisting into knots around that small scrap of food he had saved, unable to bring himself to eat it, wanting to savor it later by whatever fire he could build. The forest grew darker, the trees older, the silence thicker, until it was broken by a sound that froze him where he stood. A low, rattling breath, a groan of pain so deep it seemed to rise from the earth itself. He found the lion collapsed beneath a bent and blackened oak, its ribs pressing through a coat gone dull and patchy, its great paws cracked and bleeding from wandering some unknowable distance. Its golden eyes, sunken and rheumy, opened just enough to fix on the boy, and Tomas understood, in the way children understand things before their minds can explain them, that this animal was dying of the same thing that gnawed at his own stomach every single night: hunger. Villagers would have run, hunters would have taken the opportunity, but Tomas, who had buried both his parents and understood loss in a way no child should have to, felt something crack open in his chest. He knelt down, unwrapped his bread and his sliver of meat, and held it out with trembling hands. "I don't have much," he whispered, "but you can have what I have." The lion did not move for a long moment. Then, slowly, gently, impossibly gently for a creature with jaws that could crush stone, it took the food from his palm and ate. And then it spoke. "Boy," the lion rasped, its voice like stones grinding beneath a river, "do you know what you have done?" Tomas, too stunned to be afraid, shook his head. "You have fed the last of what you own to a stranger who could have devoured you instead. There are debts in this world that gold cannot repay. I will remember this. When the dark comes for you, boy, and it will come, call my name into the trees and I will answer." "I don't know your name," Tomas said. "You will," the lion answered, closing its eyes, "when you need it most." By the time Tomas returned home that night, empty sack forgotten in the frost, something in him had changed, though he could not have said what. Bertrand did not ask why the kindling was missing. He only looked at the boy with an expression Tomas had never seen before, a hunger that had nothing to do with food at all. What Tomas did not know, what he could not have known, was that his uncle had been visited that very week by a merchant from the eastern hills, a pale, soft-spoken man named Vas who dealt in things far darker than grain or cloth. Vas had heard of the failing harvests, of Bertrand's growing desperation, and he had made an offer over candlelight and cheap wine. "There is an old power in these woods," Vas had said, "older than the village, older than the church on the hill. It sleeps beneath the black oak and it can be woken. It can turn barren fields to gold, dry rivers to plenty, empty granaries to overflowing. But it demands payment, blood payment, the blood of one who is loved, given willingly by one who loves them." Bertrand had laughed at first. Then he had stopped laughing because he had thought of Tomas, and how the boy was not truly his blood, how the boy was simply a mouth to feed and a burden he had inherited, how the village would pity him rather than blame him if the orphan boy simply, vanished. Greed, once it takes root, grows faster than any harvest. 3 nights after Tomas met the lion, Bertrand woke him before dawn and told him they were going hunting, that it was time the boy learned to be useful in ways beyond gathering sticks. Tomas, starved for any scrap of approval from the only family he had left, followed eagerly, not noticing the rope coiled at his uncle's belt, not noticing the way Bertrand would not meet his eyes. They walked deep into the forest, past the bent black oak where Tomas had met the lion, deeper still, until they reached a clearing where the trees grew in an unnatural circle, and the ground was stained dark with something Tomas did not want to think about. Vas was already there, waiting, his pale face split by a smile with too many teeth. "Uncle," Tomas said, his voice small, "what is this place?" Bertrand did not answer. His hands, when they seized Tomas by the shoulders and forced him to his knees before the circle of stones at the clearing's center, were shaking, but they did not loosen their grip. "I'm sorry," Bertrand finally said, and there was something almost like grief in his voice, buried beneath the greed, buried so deep it could no longer save him. "The debts, Tomas, the harvest, I have no choice." "You have every choice," Tomas said, and he was crying now, the betrayal cutting deeper than any hunger ever had. Because starvation, he understood, starvation was simply the world being cruel. But this was a man he had trusted choosing cruelty when kindness had been sitting right beside him the whole time. Vas began to chant in a language that hurt Tomas's ears to hear, words that seemed to bend the torchlight and curdle the night air. The stones of the circle began to glow with a sick, red light, and from the earth itself came a sound like something ancient and starving turning over in its sleep, stirring, rising, hungry in a way that made the lion's hunger seem like nothing at all. Tomas, terrified beyond speech, remembered the lion's words, "Call my name into the trees." But he did not know its name. "Please," he sobbed, to no one, to everyone, to the darkening trees. "Please, I don't know your name, I don't know what to call you." And then, from somewhere deep in his memory, unbidden, a name surfaced. A name his mother used to whisper on the anniversary of a grief she never fully explained. A name he had always assumed belonged to a relative long dead, an uncle or a grandfather lost before Tomas was born. "Aldrich," Tomas whispered, "Aldrich, please." The forest went silent. Even Vas's chanting faltered. Then the black oak at the clearing's edge split down its center with a sound like thunder, and from the wound in the ancient wood came the lion. But it was not the starving, broken creature Tomas had fed 3 nights before. It was massive now, its mane crackling with pale fire, its eyes burning gold and furious. And as it crossed the clearing in 2 great strides, its form began to shift, flesh and fur folding into something else. Something with a man's shape and a lion's fury still burning in his eyes. The man who stood before them, tall and gaunt but achingly familiar, wore a face Tomas had only ever seen in a single faded portrait his mother kept hidden in the bottom of an old trunk. "Father," Tomas breathed. "I told you," the man who had been the lion said, his voice raw, "that I would remember." Aldrich, Tomas's true father, had not died before his son was born, as the boy had always been told. He had been cursed by this same clearing, this same starving thing beneath the stones, decades before, trapped in the body of a beast and doomed to wander the forest for eternity unless one final act was completed. An act of selfless kindness, given by his own blood, to break the binding. His wife had fled with the infant Tomas, never speaking the truth, protecting her son from a horror she could not undo, dying with the secret still locked inside her. Vas's chant broke entirely into a scream of fury as the ritual collapsed, the thing beneath the stones shrieking as it was denied its blood payment, sinking back into whatever abyss it called home, the red light dying to ash. Bertrand stumbled backward, his face a mask of horror at what he had nearly done, at the father he had nearly murdered a son in front of. "You would have killed him," Aldrich said, advancing on Bertrand with a fury that made the trees themselves seem to lean away. "My son, your own blood's charge for gold." "I didn't know," Bertrand stammered. "I didn't know he was. I only wanted to save us, the village. I only wanted." "You wanted," Aldrich said, "and that is all you have ever wanted. Not the village, not the boy, only what filled your own hands." Voss did not wait to see what became of Bertrand. He fled into the trees and was never seen in Cailin again, though for years afterward, travelers spoke of a pale man in the eastern hills who traded in curses and always paid the same terrible price himself in the end, one villager at a time, one desperate soul at a time, until the day the forest simply swallowed him whole, and no one ever heard his name spoken again. As for Bertrand, Aldrich did not kill him, though every part of Thomas in that raw and bleeding moment might have understood if he had. Instead, the curse that had bound Aldrich for so long, now broken, found a new resting place, as old magic often does, refusing to vanish entirely, only searching for its next vessel. It settled over Bertrand like a shadow taking root, and the villagers say that from that night on, he was never again seen in daylight, that something lion-shaped and starving haunted the tree line around his cottage until, one autumn evening, he vanished into the forest and did not return, and the sound of something enormous and hungry weeping was heard on the wind for 3 full nights after. Thomas went to live with his father in a small cottage at the forest's edge, and though Aldrich was forever changed by his years as a beast, forever carrying something feral in the set of his eyes, he was gentle with his son in every way that mattered, and the harvest, strangely, impossibly, began to improve that very spring, not through any dark bargain, but through ordinary, patient, decent work, the only kind of magic Thomas had ever truly needed. But even now, generations later, the old women of Cailin tell their grandchildren not to wander too deep into the woods near the bent black oak, not because a lion waits there, but because they say that on the coldest nights of winter, when the wind moves just right through the branches, you can still hear it. A voice, low and rattling, asking a single question of anyone foolish enough to be listening. "Would you share your last meal with a stranger?" it asks, "even if it cost you everything?" And the old women say that how you answer, in your heart, in that single unguarded moment before you can stop yourself and think it through, is the truest thing anyone will ever know about you. Because kindness, real kindness, the kind that saved a father, broke a curse, and doomed a greedy man to wander forever in his place, was never really about the meal at all. It was about what kind of person you choose to be when you believe no one is watching, and nothing waits for you afterward but the dark.